Previously on the Coin Jam podcast.
Can I ask a question that, please don't take this as intending to jinx you, Liam, but what happens if you get there and something's wrong? And I'm saying this not specifically for your trip, but just in general.
This is an educational question.
You've driven all this way, and either the goods aren't what they were represented as, or all the way to the extreme of the seller just ghosts you.
What happens if there's termites? What happens if there's termites? Termites.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Coin Jam podcast.
Too soon.
Too soon. Not my fault. Chance put me up to it.
Whoa! Under the bus.
So this is your
the bus
fault.
is right there.
As always, I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. If you're watching this live right now on the live stream, you're watching this on my channel. I'm joined by my typical partners in crime. We have Liam, one half of Retro Robotics. We have Kay from Prime Arcade and Chance from the Canadian Arcade, coming to us live from Central European time, I think.
Yes, I am in Liège, Belgium, right now.
How do you pronounce that?
Liège.
Okay.
It looks
Yes,
like
by
Liège,
Liège.
but it's Liège. And that is the train station right there. And we don't have any Heineken because there was tons of Heineken at the track, but we have Carlsberg. So I'm just
Carlsberg is good?
downstairs. Carlsberg's not bad. I'm downstairs in the brasserie underneath my hotel.
Are you outside or inside?
I'm outside. Yeah, there are
My
people.
mic levels are low. Let's do this.
There are people walking the streets right now.
Ooh. How about now? Is my mic level should be better now? Thanks for the tip off, Papa Sean 69. So let's see. We'll find out everything that's going on with Chance in just a couple minutes. Hopefully there isn't a riot, bunch of angry F1 fans going nuts. I got a little sun today. We'll talk about that a little bit. Let's check in and see who's here. So we've got a very different, very unusual, not our typical bat time or bat channel. So appreciate everyone hanging out with us at 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. So who's here? We've got a bunch of channel members. We've got Random Pixelated Billy Bob. We've got Wayne Sylvester. We've got Sean Cruikshank. We've got Arcade Maze. We've got Papa Sean 69. We've got Jerry Voluptuous. We've also got ENKO. I can't remember. Enko, am I supposed to pronounce that as Enko or ENKO?
You got it, Inko.
Inko. Like Martin
Inko.
says, Zup. And yeah, we are rocking and rolling. We are off with episode 18. So yeah, why don't we start by going around the horn and talking about recent pickups and game room updates. Liam, do you want to share anything with us?
Yeah, Liam, what have you been up to?
What do you think? Termites. Those two cockpits, we did end up picking them up, and they did have termites. You jinxed us.
Dude, I had no idea. Okay, just time out.
Okay.
Time out. It was like a we were talking about termites earlier in the day, and as soon as I didn't even remember saying that, actually, Charlie, I'm not blaming Charlie, but I'm saying Charlie did after we were done that episode, and you went and picked up the games, and we found out about the termites. Charlie messaged me and he goes, "Holy crap." So I had no idea. I totally had forgotten I had said that.
So anyway, yeah, the cockpits were in real bad shape. Worse than the photos. We get down there, and the Star Trek GO8 was necked, and I was ready to walk right then because I still thought it was just water damage, and I was like, that is one step too far. The GO8, what is the point of buying this without a vector monitor? And the guy goes, no, wait. I might have another one on a shelf or something. And I was like,
just
really?
casually.
Okay,
I might have another GO8. Just casually.
There's
I was like,
7 or 8 down
just
there.
get a new tube or something. I was like, no, you cannot get a new tube for this. It's difficult. So he goes to the back of the shed, and sure enough, there's another GO8 on the shelf. And he pulls it down, and it's also necked. And I'm just beside myself at this point, and we go into a different shed, and he pulls out a 6100, which has the same tube.
Casually.
Casually,
I got a spare 6100 over here.
That one was fine. So he was like, "You can have all three of these," and I was like, "All right, fine. You know what? That solves the problem, I guess. Yes." And we load them in, and these things are disintegrating. The Road Blasters was not that bad actually, but the Star Trek, it didn't survive the trip home. And it was on the trip home that we realized, oh shit, sorry Charlie, these are termites. And as soon as we got it back, we bug bombed the trailer, we termite foamed it, I think we bug bombed the trailer like a total of 4 times, and we got them out, wrapped them all in plastic, baked them in the sun. We had an exterminator come first thing in the morning and spray it all down with boric acid. Just absolute chemical warfare on termites.
Sorry, did you say pork acid?
Boric acid.
Oh, boric acid. It's like, what is pork acid? That sounds delicious.
Pork acid was my band in college.
That's wicked. That's metal as hell.
I decided I didn't want to risk it, so we stripped everything out of the Star Trek at first, and then trashed that cabinet, even after we had treated it. And we did the same thing to the Road Blasters, although we had it scanned before sending it off to the dump. So hopefully we can reproduce it.
And that was who was helping you out with the scan?
BDN from Caleb. He's the guy behind ClassicArcadeCabinets.com.
Local guy?
Terrific human.
Terrific guy. He came out, drove an hour and scanned the cabinet in a couple hours in the afternoon. And I'm really hoping that we can build it again. I've got the PCB and harness set up on my bench right now, and I'm trying to see if I can get it running.
How many miles was it round trip?
2,000 miles. You know what? We got something good out of it, though. Minus the whole disaster with the 2 cockpits. We did go to Kennedy Space Center, and we got to see the shuttle there, which was our last shuttle we had not seen. So it was worth it for that. No, that doesn't count, Chance.
You saw the Enterprise, though. You've seen the...
Yeah, I've been up there.
You've been in New York. Okay.
So there was that. So that whole disaster, that sucked. But I'm hopeful that eventually something good can come out of it. I mean, all the plastics for the Star Trek cockpit were fine. They all got pulled off. The Sega embossed canopy is also fine. All the PCBs were there. I don't know if they work yet. I haven't tried it. But everything is there. I even saved the vent covers and the plastic floor lining. Like, everything is there if we cut a new cabinet that we can put it back together.
Sorry, correction. When you cut a new cabinet and put it back together. Thank you.
Yes. So that would be the goal. And I have not decided yet what to do about the monitors, given that the G08s both were necked. I have this fanciful idea that if I could find a 25-inch 100-degree monitor, you can actually put a 25-inch in the standard Sega Star Trek monitor box. Mm-hmm. And the reason to do this would be if you put a Sega multi-kit in there, you can get TAC-scan at the full resolution or full size with the 25-inch monitor in the Star Trek cab, which is
TAC-scan is an awesome game, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know why this isn't your plan A.
Well, that plan would require a 100-degree 25-inch tube.
Yeah, fair.
Which is not easy to find. But there is a build log on Caleb where somebody has done this, and it turned out awesome. 25-inch Star Trek is the way to go.
Are amps 20 or 100-degree? Vector
Those are...
Maybe we should ask the guy, do you have a spare Star Trek or Star Wars cockpit tube?
Yeah, go ahead and
I can't
drive down there
remember the
again and see if
distinction.
he's got something else on
The
the
Amplifone 19-inch is a 90-degree tube. The Amplifone 25-inch is a 100-degree tube. So
Mike Martin in the chat was asking, where do these games come from? Was it James Price? I missed that tidbit of info.
no, it's just some guy down in South Florida who had them in a shed, and he didn't know. I don't blame him for that. When we told him that the termites were there, he was getting an exterminator out himself. So
Got some F1 hooligans behind Chance making a bunch of noise. What's so sorry if you mentioned it. What's your the plan with the Road Blasters? What are you going to do with the Road Blasters parts?
Hopefully cut a new cab. There have been people asking me for the PCV, but I'm not willing to give it up yet. Again, we had it scanned, and I've kept, once again, everything. So we've got all the metal pieces for the canopy. We've got the harness, the controls. I've got it set up on my bench right now, and I'm trying to get it working. But right now I'm stumbling against the Atari customs. So I need to get new customs for it because the clock generator SynGen chip is not working. So that's my current sticking point. It will not boot right now.
Well, I'm confident you'll be able to get all of these working again. And, there'll be a very happy story at the end of all this. And you might even be able to laugh about it when it's all said and done. But what a wild turn of events. I had when I had picked up, I think I had mentioned it during the last podcast. I had just picked up, the term Grail gets thrown around a bunch, but definitely one of the top games on the top of my want list. And I drove not 1,000 miles, but I drove 500 each way. 500 each way? I can't remember. I drove to Knoxville. 500. Yeah. I drove 500 each way. I drove to Knoxville.
Whoa. This isn't a math podcast.
I know. So drove to Knoxville.
Especially with you guys in your freedom units.
And I get there and, nowhere near as, severe as yours, but had, some pretty severe, it was only 97% of a cabinet when I got there due to termites, but man, that's wild. So other than that, Liam, what's been going on?
Nothing. This whole experience with the cockpits has burnt us out quite a bit on trying to find things. I mean, that was just such a disaster that we have not experienced before.
I don't believe you because you keep sending me Facebook Marketplace listings.
Hey,
you keep
those
posting
are for you, not for
Facebook
me.
Market.
I'm not
you
buying
keep posting them in the members only Discord, and you told me to cancel the podcast to go pick up something in Maryland.
Cancel. I just said
peer pressure is a hell of a drug, man.
I told you.
You're still checking. You're still checking Facebook Marketplace compulsively, which I have nothing but respect for. But cool. All right, Kay, how about you? What's been going on lately? Any pickups? Any updates? That kind of stuff.
This will be quick. No, I've been on vacation for the past couple of weeks, so I didn't do anything of note before I left, and I've done nothing of note since I got back. So I really don't have anything to talk about.
I think you mentioned you were going up to Michigan. Did you play any games up there? Did you visit any arcades, or was it completely just non-business related stuff?
Non-business related. I was in the middle of nowhere in the thumb of Michigan, surrounded by towns that were 20 minutes apart and all less than 2,000 people each. There was nothing to do. There was a lot of drinking, a lot of laying in a hammock, staring at trees, and naps, and going with my dad to visit people he knows and I don't. So it was a very enthralling 11 days.
Sometimes it's weird to go and visit like your parents' cousins, right? Who they remember growing up with, but you maybe saw at a wedding when you were 10.
Yeah, like at a family reunion, like once, like 30 years ago.
Yeah,
you've grown up so much. Of course.
I've been with him to Michigan. This is the third time now in my life, and so some of these people I've met before, but I might as well not have because I do not remember them.
Are they viewers of your TikTok channel?
I mean, everyone's a viewer of my TikTok channel. I'm TikTok famous, and I have thousands of followers. So how could they not be, like, statistically?
So this was like a celebrity. Did you grow up in Michigan? Was this like a celebrity coming home and
No,
did
my
they
dad
give
grew
you
up
the
in
keys to
Michigan.
the
I did
city?
not. It probably wouldn't be hard to get the keys to the city because there's not very many people there, so I don't think it would do much to stand out.
What was it like having your picture on the front page of the newspaper?
I don't read. Why would I see that?
Oh, time
Okay.
out. You don't or you can't. Those are two
Look,
distinct.
This isn't a reading podcast, okay?
I'm just checking.
And so, Chance, what's been going on with you?
A lot. Where do you want me to start?
Oh, well, first of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Big 4-0.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes, this is 40 as of yesterday, or technically today. We're considering July 27.5 because I still had, we're an 8-hour time difference right now. Maybe I'll just explain where I'm at. So I'm, Belgium, Liège. For those of you who know, for those of you who don't, I am like a massive Formula One fan. It actually eclipses my arcade fandom. And I've been a Formula One fan since I was little bitty Chance.
Oh my gosh,
and
is this an F1 podcast?
No.
Am I the wrong one?
Hey, I will start doing math if you don't hold your tongue.
There's F1 games. I have a
there's tons
marquee
of
for
F1
F1
games.
Dream.
I have a Super Monaco. Anyway, so I'm a if you can't tell, I'm a McLaren fan. And so for my 40th birthday,
That's the team that ripped off the Nike logo.
can you beat that? Oh yeah, this is the Nike logo that you shipped to.
Hold on, sorry, I had to mute Chance's mic because we have a $499 million super chat donation from Jerry Voluptuous. He says, "Happy birthday, Chance." So maybe we're all gonna have to sing to you. Are we gonna do this? Is this a singing podcast?
No, I gotta run to the bathroom. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, quick. So anyway, long story short, being a Formula One fan all my life, and being a McLaren fan specifically all my life, it was something that my wife wanted to do for my 40th birthday was a pilgrimage to Spa to see the Belgian Grand Prix because it's one of the original 4 tracks. Long story short, this place is gorgeous, amazing. The people here are absolutely lovely. We have met some of the best single-serving friends from all over the world. They're just great human beings. And like a large number of quintessential, like stereotypical snobby French waiters. It's awesome. They're great. In fact, the one that I have here at my hotel bar will probably come ask for my bill here soon. But anyway, so that's where I am. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm dressed head to toe in McLaren. And so, yeah, to further Kay's comment, no, I haven't done all at all. I never my soundboard, so I got to
cut out for a second. Did you swear? Am I going to have to go back and delete that? I didn't hear it.
No, that was me forcefully beeping myself out because I don't have my Stream Deck right here. Jesus.
I appreciate it.
Oh no, you don't have your soundboard. How terrible.
Well,
more laser shots.
See. So as for me, I've actually been getting rid of games, if you can believe it or not. I know people are a bit shocked by that. Don't worry, nothing bad. So let's see. Something I haven't done a video on yet, but Dillweed finally came and picked up his game. So he had a whole row in my garage. So those are out of my garage. And I also, Dillweed and I worked out a bit of a trade. So I traded 2 Dillweed games to Dillweed. And we have this sort of joke, and I think it might be other places too. We call these games Dillweed games if they are uncommon, if they're old, if they're not, popular, whatever. Dillweed has a very eclectic collection. He's got eclectic taste, tons of Bronze Age stuff, very obscure stuff. And you saw some of the stuff that I picked up for him, like the Space Tactics and Space Bugger and whatever. So I traded the 2 most Dillweed games in my collection. And I know there will be some very disappointed people when I release that video and share what games have left my collection. And in return, I got a Taito, sort of a weird, interesting Taito game, and my first ever Centauri game, which is in the back. Channel members know what it is, but we'll wait for a bit of an unveiling in that video coming up soon. And I've got 5 more games that are going to be leaving, I think, in just a few days. These are all going back to the Media Arcade. So the Primal Rage. And so back to the media, Mark's Arcade, Mark and Danny in Winchester, Virginia, opening. He keeps telling me it's going to open in August, but we'll see if that happens. Hopefully, knock on wood, it does. So I've got 5 games that are leaving my collection and going to Mark's Arcade. The Primal Rage, he has bought that. That's going there forever. He's going to borrow my Neo Geo 1 slot in the Bally Sente cabinet. And I say borrow because that's definitely coming back, because I'm going to finish restoring that back to it's going to be a chicken shift as a Bally Sente cabinet. And then 3 games are going to his arcade that I'm eventually going to put price tags on there. That's the Taito Superman in the it's a Dynamo HS7, sort of an uncommon Dynamo cabinet. There's a Sly Spy, dedicated-ish Sly Spy in what's very similar to a Dynamo HS2. And then my Class of 81, the combination Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. It's the cabaret size. It's the one that's got a sticker instead of a real coin door. That had been at my office at work for like 2 years. Recently brought that home because we are moving offices. And I got some other games that I'm going to put into the new office. So all those 5 games are going to go to Mark's Arcade. The Primal Rage will be a permanent fixture there. The Neo Geo Bally Sente will be a temporary attraction. And those 3 other games will be listed for sale. So if you're interested in those amazing games, you can check that out and talk to me if you're interested in buying them. I've also moved my game room. So I would say I'm about 75% done with the process. I've got about a dozen games in here. All of the games that are in the basement are now in this room, which is much larger and nicer. It's got much better power. The reason that these games are so close to me is there's a dedicated 20 amp circuit in the ceiling that was originally meant to be for a projector. This room was designed by the previous owners to be a home theater. I always want to say home theater, like Vince Vaughn, but we've never used it that way. And I'm not going to not use a 20 amp circuit. So I've been playing a lot with an app that Liam put me onto called Sweet Home 3D. Which is sort of like, I guess, interior designers and architects and whatever use this to sort of design rooms and layouts and whatever. You can download 3D models of almost every popular arcade cabinet. The Clav database has links to a lot of them. There's other places you can get them. And then you can sort of, lay out your room and experiment with different layouts. And I went through, dozens of different iterations. And I think I've got a good one that will eventually allow me to have up to 22, maybe 23 games in this room, plus the 2 pins, plus my full desk setup for work. So that's going really well. I'm very happy with how things are going. And there's room down here for most of the projects in my garage, at least the ones that are intended to come down to the basement. So that's very fun. Let's see what's going on in the live chat here. We've got another. Oh, I almost missed it. We've got another super chat donation. This one is for Mike Martin. It says for Tony Arrowwood. Mike with a $499 million super chat donation. Is that on behalf of Tony? Are you hanging out with Tony and that donation is from him? Or is this for him and you'd like us to forward this super chat donation to Tony Arrowwood? And if you guys don't recognize that name, Tony Arrowwood is the guy who he's probably best well known for reproducing the perfect exact one-to-one reproduction Williams control panels. So the Robotron and the Joust ones, but he also does Bubbles and others where you have, I don't know if you can even see the Joust right here. It's a rather thick wood control panel and it's wrapped around and it's a very sort of complex piece of woodworking with plywood. There's other people that have tried to make them in the past, but Tony does a perfect one-for-one reproduction, highly recommended by anyone that's ever seen one. He also will reproduce cabinets. He'll do like an exact match in a cabinet. And I've learned a ton from Tony's also a channel member. I've learned a ton from Tony. He has a YouTube channel called the Arcade Wood Shop. So check that out if you're interested. He really focuses on the woodworking aspects of repairing and building cabinets. So thank you for that super chat. Mike, let's see. Dillweed checking in saying Dahoye, which is sort of his signature, catchphrase slogan. And I was like, where did this thing come from? And I Googled it. And apparently like 90% of all of the Google hits for Dahoye come from Dillweed.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's very similar. There was like a kingdom in Africa a few hundred years ago called the Home.
Called Dahoy.
So it's
Oh.
similar to that, but not exactly the same. Old man PJ is giving you a hard time chancing you've got better internet at a random cafe in Belgium than back home.
I saw that. He's not wrong. I just realized how good the latency is here, and I ran the. You don't even want to know how good this is, but that just speaks to how crappy. I can say crappy, right?
No.
If
More
you have
work
to
for
ask,
me.
the answer is no.
How absolutely disturbingly poopy. Is it poopy?
That's okay. Yeah, that's
Nope.
fine.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me list a bunch of words that you can't say. Are you ready?
Okay. 7 words you can't say on TV. So, but I absolutely garbage internet that I apparently have at home. But like, yeah, you're right. 100%. I'm just waiting. My waiter's going to come around with the bill here in any minute, but I can still stay here. So.
And Matt, aka SNES Cube 64, another channel member, says Dillweed stole my garage. There was a huge police investigation and everything. And so I've been getting some heat from folks about my video thumbnails and the titles, claiming that they're clickbait. None of them are clickbait. They're not clickbait.
That was clickbait.
So what I like is having a title or thumbnail that can be interpreted multiple ways. But one of the very valid ways it can be interpreted is how I deliver on that, right? So, for example, having a thumbnail with a bunch of games saying goodbye, people interpret that as being, oh, I'm getting out of the hobby. Not true at all. I'm just getting rid of the 5 games that were in the thumbnail. And don't jump.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? Okay. What did the thumbnail say, word for word? What did the thumbnail
Goodbye.
say?
That's it. Just goodbye.
Okay. And what was in the thumbnail?
Those 5 games that were leaving my collection.
Yeah. Yeah. These are stupid questions.
And
'cause
what
I've
was
seen
the
it and I
title of
watched
the video?
What was the title of the video?
Getting rid of my arcade games. These 5.
Okay. So
Not
by definition,
it's like
Well,
why are you
these
saying
5 was
that?
not in there. That was not in the title.
ambiguity begets clickbait. Okay, so even if you want to argue it, that was the definition of early YouTube clickbait.
I was creating curiosity.
You were creating clickbait.
You
It
know,
was like
other times
it was like
I've
my
also-
video, like that I posted. That Josh and I posted a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago now, I guess, where we were moving games.
Yeah.
And we said it's moving time. That we knew that was clickbait, and we've owned up to it that was clickbait. That was clickbait.
What's wrong with
You,
that?
sir, created clickbait.
Bad clickbait is when you say something and it's actually not true or the opposite. For me, this
that's
is
garbage
ambiguity.
clickbait. This was clickbait.
This is good clickbait. I've also gotten criticized in the past for like
I'm gonna
having
mute my old mic.
in a pickup video having like not saying what game it was and making it a mystery, right? One of the things that I do is like I take a picture and then I like draw like a cartoon version of the cabinet on top of it, so kind of obscuring what it is. And people are like, "Why are you doing this? You should put the picture in the thumbnail, and then I can decide whether or not I want to watch the video." And I'm like, that is not how YouTube works at all, right? So anyway,
What you are doing is you are creating controversy, and controversy creates cash, just like Eric Bischoff said.
So all that is to say, the video with Dillweed is also going to be a similar type of ambiguity
clickbait?
to create curiosity type of
Clickbait.
positive clickbait. This is good clickbait.
All you got to do is say, "Yeah, it was clickbait."
It's the good stuff.
Other people
Yeah,
who do clickbait is wrong, but whenever he does it, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, Mike.
Look. If you own up to it, it was good. It was well done. It wasn't like skeezy. Hold on, let me finish. It was good. It was well done. It wasn't skeezy. It didn't manipulate us into watching the content because we were shocked. It was like, oh, this is interesting. Let's find out. So, sir, if you just own up to it, we will get off your back.
There we go. It was what was the right word?
It was clickbait. Say it was clickbait. Say it was clickbait.
Yes, but there's a modifier to it.
No. Say it was. I'm muting myself again.
Tasteful clickbait. So, and then Mike had a little note here saying this was just a call out to Tony. He's such a great guy and he's having a hard time today. Yeah, I saw that note too, and I reached out to him. I don't think he's responded to me just yet. Let's see. Yeah, Inko says no shame in the game, no shame in playing the YouTube game. Okay, so I'm getting positive feedback here. Papa Sean 69, just a fun clickbait. So
You're getting positive feedback, but I feel like you have a skewed audience here.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
Not really
heckling
a true
you.
cross section of the.
that's probably
population.
true.
I am totally heckling you on purpose.
This Fester's Quest attract mode sounds like really. Oh, I got to turn that off. Really mess with me. Turn my reactions off. It sounds like the game is malfunctioning. Yes, Matt, I am going to have to include De Hoye as a Easter egg in the video.
Every
Jerry
time
says
I
pretty
see
sure.
De Hoye, go ahead.
Finish your sentence.
Oh, I was gonna say every time I see De Hoye, I just think it's like you know how Mr. Burns says ahoy hoy? I feel like
think
it
it's,
came from
Professor
that.
Frank.
Ahoy hoy?
I like answering the phone that way.
Yeah, ahoy hoy is Burns picking up the phone. Do you, Liam? Do you want to go toe to toe with me with Simpsons
Do
trivia?
you know why he says that? Do you know why he says ahoy?
Because that's
Ahoy,
what
hoy?
they used to do.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes,
God,
we-
this is a Simpsons podcast.
Like back in the 20s or something.
That'd be the thing.
Back in the 1920s, that's what they used to do.
Yeah.
Jerry says pretty sure half the videos he watches have a thumbnail that isn't in the video. I've never done that. Every single one of my
Wrong.
thumbnails is a screenshot from a video or a staged photo from a scene that I was filming.
Yes,
Either
that's the way.
One of the reasons I like to do a screenshot from the video is I film everything on my iPhone. And if you've ever done like something where you do like a remove the background, right? Like you grab just the image, person, whatever. The way the iPhone does it, it's much better to do it on a video, right? Because the tiny little movement helps it separate the foreground from the background because it sees essentially almost like the parallax sort of effect. And it's able to separate the foreground from the background much easier than just with a still shot. You would think that iPhone would be smart enough to, even if you're taking a still picture, take like a fraction of a second before and after to be able to do that. Maybe that increases the file size, but anyway. Yeah, so cool. Where were we? I think we went through everybody. I finished my pickup game room update, all that kind of stuff. So we'll roll into projects that we're currently working on. So literally right now, what?
I was just thinking of. No. I was just thinking I was trying to because I didn't read the show notes because I haven't been able to.
Usually.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a reading podcast.
This is not a reading podcast. Thank you, Kay.
It's apparently a snacking podcast.
It is a snacking podcast. Actually, it's funny about that. A side note: we're sitting here talking, and my wife just texted me. She's like, "What are you eating?" And I'm like, "Oh, she's watching upstairs." She's like, "Oh,
hi,
you're
Nessa.
drinking?" Yeah. So if anyone wants to say hi to my wife, she's watching the show.
And it's funny. So earlier today, Chance and I were talking, and for whatever reason, I don't know if this is just now that you're in your 40s, you're going to have to put these childish things aside. This tends to be something that younger people do. Like I'll text them, and they'll respond with a video of themselves. Right? Chance does this, quite a bit.
Don't conflict me being 40.
You're gonna have to change this.
Just because I'm older now doesn't mean I'm not still childish, okay?
So if you think of your life in thirds, you have entered your middle third, right? So even if you live to 120, right? You have entered so you are officially middle-aged, right? And now that you are middle-aged, I was very surprised for you that you did this earlier. So I texted you and you responded with a selfie video of yourself sitting next to your lovely wife on a bus in the middle of the French Alps or something like that, right?
The Ardennes forest.
The Ardennes forest, right? Watch out for World War I UXD, right?
World War
UXO. Ardennes was World War I, wasn't it?
Where I was in the Ardennes was not far from Gaston.
Belgium.
Oh my God, this is a military history podcast.
How is Belgium a country, right? Let's just anyway. So you send this video of yourself, and Vanessa kind of looks over, and you're like, "Oh, I'm messaging Charlie." She immediately looks away in disgust. All right?
Okay.
But
so in her defense, because we talked about this after, because I showed her the video that I sent you. So I said in the video, I'm like, because all the last 2 weeks as we've been traveling, I've been putting this whole thing on my Instagram. on my Instagram stories and like saving them as like little highlights. So Vanessa's had my camera phone shoved in her face more times than she can think of in the last 2 weeks. And every so often I film a video to send to someone that we know personally that's not going to be on Instagram. And so right away, like I just thought, I tell her, hey, this is going to Charlie, or we're sending a message to, Maggie or whoever, and or Josh. And so like I'm sending you this video, but as that's happening, she had just woken up from falling asleep on this three-hour bus ride out of the Ardennes. And she like looks out because we're passing through this little tiny gorgeous Belgian village, and she just wanted to see it, and she looked back. So she's like, I'm in the Ardennes. Like I don't care, Chance, what you're doing. It was hilarious. So she wasn't disgusted with you more as she was disgusted with me.
I figure that's probably usually the case.
It is usually the case. It happens quite a bit.
It's called marriage.
Yes.
Cool. So anyway, so there I was, right? So projects we're currently working on. So literally like, and the guys were probably sweating because I actually done all my homework in advance, had everything done and ready to go. Show notes, everything was all set up. And I didn't send them the link to get into, we use StreamYard if you can't tell by the watermark. I didn't send them the link to the StreamYard studio until like 2 minutes before we went live, and they were all sweating or whatever, because I was out in the garage. I've been working on a bunch of K7000s, right? Like the past month, it's been all K7000s, and I'm working on 2 right now. I've got probably 2 more. So I'm working on a K7000. For the Sly Spy, I was getting it all sort of figured out. And the image was too tall and too wide. So I had to swap out a resistor on the board for the height issue. That was Mike from Mike's Amateur Arcade Monitor Repair put me onto that. And then I had to do the monitor width kit, from Arcade Parts Repair. It has a bunch of different, they're like film capacitors, right? Different values to help adjust the width. The horizontal width coil is working, but even completely minimized, it's still too wide. So I got all that sorted out. And now I'm working on a K7000 because I've got a trade coming up with actually Jerry Voluptuous, who donated our first super chat. So I've got a 19-inch K7000. I'm giving him. We got a trade worked out. I'll be heading up his way pretty soon. So that's literally what I was working on until 15 minutes before showtime, when I left my garage, ran downstairs, and realized I hadn't sent the link out. So we got all that sorted out. Let's see what else is going on. I've also been, speaking of Arcade Parts Repair, I've been helping out Peter, as has Mike from Mike's Amateur Arcade Monitor Repair, with testing flybacks. So Peter's been reproducing, doing new batches of reproduction flybacks, and doing some that haven't been reproduced in a while, like Geo7 FBOs, and I think he's working on Matsushita and stuff. So I've been doing testing both of OEM flybacks to get a bunch of different values over a 24-hour period, and sending them to him, and also testing sample reproduction flybacks he's been sending me. So I did a video about that a couple weeks ago. Nobody watched that video. That must not have had a clickbaity enough thumbnail. So sorry about that. What else is going on? So I am finally really going to be stenciling the Miz pack very soon. I know I've been talking about that for a while, and I finally, like this week, I need to order the laminate for the Kubert cabinets and the Moon Patrol cocktail. Keep talking about that. I've been so focused on getting these games ready for Mark's Arcade. But yeah, that's mostly what I've been working on. Did a ton of work. Was that a firework going off, like a screaming Mimi?
Dying cat?
That was a dude on his moped. He just literally just like blew a wheelie right here and then ripped through the traffic. I'm in a traffic circle, on the edge of a traffic circle.
He saw you doing the live stream and wanted to be a star.
Oh yeah, a lot of people are like checking this out as they walk by, either to see what we're
like
doing or steal my laptop.
It's like the Today Show. People keep coming up to kind of see what's going on, right?
Hey, if your laptop gets stolen, does this become like a true crime podcast, or? It
does.
Well, we'll have all the evidence.
We
to
wear
help
a
the
lot of
authorities.
hats.
No, they will literally close it and run.
There you go. Well, no, you want to leave the laptop open. That's kind of a thing, right? If you steal a laptop, don't close it. Leave it open, leave it unlocked. Because if you close it, it'll lock and you might not be able to get back in. There's a
it's
pro,
a
pro tip
MacBook. You
in front
can
of
break
you,
into those so easy.
Yeah, not a pro gamer tip. It's a pro criminal tip.
Now this is a theft podcast now.
There you go. Life lessons. So yeah, and then I was working on all those cabinets to get them ready, put the finishing touches on Primal Rage, locks and leg levelers and stuff. Really want to send a shout out to Galloping Ghost Reproduction. So if you saw the video where I kind of finished the Primal Rage and installed the Galloping Ghost complete reproduction art package. The bezel was a bit wrinkled and the marquee had some imperfections. I didn't think they were worth complaining, but they're kind of noticeable in the video. And then completely unprompted, Galloping Ghost sent me replacements. Jim from Galloping Ghost Reproduction saw my video, sent me an email with a really, really nice note that I completely missed. I did not see this email. And then one day I just got a package from Galloping Ghost and I'm like, what in the world is this? And then I found the email. So a beautiful, perfect marquee, perfect bezel that are now on the cabinet. I did a short on that. And so all those other cabinets are fully ready to go. And and then I got some sun today, if you can't tell. Completely unrelated. I went to the Washington Commanders training camp. We are not Commanders fans, but they are very near to us. They're like less than half an hour away. They play up in Maryland, but their training and practice facilities are in Virginia. So we went to that. And let me tell you, if there's any Commanders fans out there, don't listen to this. You are being gaslit by the news. Your number one draft pick or first round draft pick, number 2 in the draft, the Heisman Trophy winner, looked like garbage. He was missing more than half of his passes, low energy, low effort. It was bad. So don't be surprised if Jeff Driscoll starts some games this year for the Washington Commanders. That's terrifying.
Hey, Washington changed their name
multiple times. They're no longer the Washington R words. They're no longer the Washington football team. They are now the Washington Commanders.
I'm sorry, if you say R words, I think of something else entirely.
R words.
Hey.
What? The Redskins?
Yeah, the joke is you can't say that anymore, so you say the R word.
I'm Canadian.
The R word could be another word that you're not be able to say anymore.
I'm Canadian.
Oh
you have no idea if I'm half Métis or not. Like legit.
Hey, go back far enough. We're all related.
Fair.
So yeah, that's what I've been
Don't
doing.
okay that.
So are any of the rest of you working on projects? You guys had all these sob stories about traveling around the world, around the country. Who wants to talk about projects they've been working on?
I mean, I'll go. I'm back at work, so I need to get back on projects because I have bills to pay. For the most part, my showroom is full, so I'm not really fixing stuff to sell. I'm fixing stuff for repair jobs that have just been kind of piling up in the corner. So in no certain order, I've got a Firepower pinball machine, a Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man pinball machine, a 2-slot Neo Geo, a stand-up Cruisin' Exotica, an Asteroids, NFL Blitz, a couple of Crane machines, 2 Miss Pac-Man machines, finishing up a Centipede that the only thing left to do on it is to fix the trackball, which might be a PCB issue instead of the actual trackball. I haven't figured that part out yet. A $6 million man pinball machine, a Donkey Kong Jr. upright. Oh, God, what else is in that pile? A Fast and Furious. I don't know, a bunch of other stuff. I'm just grabbing whatever's closest and working on it first.
Which are you most excited to work on, though?
None of the above. Whichever one's going to be the quickest and easiest.
Donkey Kongs are usually pretty straightforward.
I don't even remember what's wrong with this one. It's just one of many that got dropped off and I'll get to, but I don't know. It's usually not anything that exciting. It's usually something simple, which is fine. I don't want to delve too deep into a repair project.
But that's good. Wouldn't it be perfect for you if every repair was just an interlock switch or just a fuse or something like that? Like,
I wouldn't get paid a whole lot for that.
I mean, do you get paid by the hour or paid by the project?
Well, I get paid by the project, but I give an estimate and a quote based on what the diagnosis is. And if the diagnosis was you didn't push this button, I can't really charge very much for that.
But there has to be a diagnostic fee. We're getting ripped off by the
there's a diagnostic fee of $50. I want more than $50 because $50 won't cover any of my bills.
Yeah, but it's $50 to look at it and then That's what you're right.
$500 to pull the interlock switch out. Yes, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. You, sir, are a genius.
Before we get any farther, I want to recognize Stringer Films' $200 million super chat donation. It says, here's your $2. Now find a better team. Now, aren't you, Matt, aren't you a Falcons fan? So as we are walking in line, I think you're Atlanta, right? So I'm assuming Falcons fans. Atlanta's a terrible sports town. As we're walking,
I think you're saying Atlanta's a terrible town.
It's a terrible sports town. It's a fine town, terrible sports town.
Liam's like,
there's a whole bunch of issues.
He's not wrong.
It's more college sports oriented. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So as we're walking in line into the facility, and let me say, I think it was pretty well done. It was a very small affair. I was surprised how few people were here. It was free. Everything was free, but it was really well done. As we're walking in, they have all these signs for advertising, buying, tickets to home games, which to me as a Patriots fan is shocking, right? So I grew up in New England. I'm a Patriots fan, grew up with, Drew Bledsoe posters on my wall as a kid, right? So the Washington games that I've been to, lower level tickets cost less than parking at Gillette Stadium. So anyway, so the fact that you have to advertise to sell tickets and you haven't just sold out every game for decades just boggles my mind. So as we're walking in, they have all these signs, these banners for like, game 7, week 13, whatever. And it's like, we're playing this team, blah, 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 right? And there's the time and whatever. So the last sign is for the final game of the season in January. And it's one of those where they don't know, it's a flex schedule. So they don't know they know what weekend it is, but they don't know the date or the time. The date is like, it's either the 27th or the 28th, time TBD. And it's against the Falcons. And as we're walking by, I say, that ain't getting flexed into prime time. So sorry, Matt, if you are a Falcons fan, but thank you for the super chat donation. Jerry Voluptuous chiming in for the Stampede. I think that's Chance's team, right? Stampede.
The Calgary Stampeders?
Yeah.
Is CFL a football league? Like, I know our fields. Hold on. I know our fields are bigger and we have less downs.
And you have forward motion, right?
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest with you, our football stadium is 70 years old. It is above and beyond, like 35 years older than the next oldest stadium. I don't think anyone really cares about the Stampeders anymore.
It's great name. Like everything in Calgary is named Stampede, right? Isn't the rodeo called the Stampede? Wasn't the pro wrestling circuit was called Stampede?
Stampede Wrestling, yeah. It's a cowboy town.
Dallas Cowboy?
No. It doesn't suck.
Yeah, Stringer confirmed that he's a Falcons fan. So, Matt, do you know that I went to Super Bowl 51? That's gonna be
like, were you like serving beers or like taking out the garbage, or were you actually there as a
Super Bowl 51 or Super Bowl LI? That is the comeback. Patriots are down 28-3, miraculous comeback, right? I've seen 5 miracles in my life: the birth of my 4 children and Super Bowl 51. And so Super Bowl 51 was in Houston, Texas. I was already in San Antonio for work, right? And this was months in advance before the Patriots had made the Super Bowl or anything. And so, and I was supposed to come home Saturday before the Super Bowl, right? Is when I was coming home from this trip. And the Patriots make it. And, I'm like, I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, I'm going to be in San Antonio. My flight and hotel are already paid for. My rental car is already paid for. I should just extend a day and buy a ticket to the game. She's like, haha, very funny. And a couple days later, she's like, if you really want to go, you should go. Before she finished that sentence, I had my phone out. I was on StubHub, buying tickets. I ended up going by myself. It was incredible. But there I was sitting at halftime in a very dark place trying to, come up with some sort of story to tell people about this experience, making up jokes like, oh, that's the last time I blow $1,000 on Lady Gaga tickets because Lady Gaga was the halftime show. Let me tell you, the halftime show is not designed for the in-person audience. The audio is all synced up weird, right? It is for the home audience. There's a lot of it that's like pre-filmed or whatever. So but then there was a miracle. So yeah, Super Bowl 51. So take that, Falcons fans.
You know, it's funny. I always thought you were a Jets fan.
That's possibly the worst insult you could make.
That's why I made the insult.
He didn't say Cowboys, so
Winnipeg Jets.
Charlie? Can you ask me a question? So that Super Bowl that you were at, is that the one where they had the, what do they call it? Deflate Gate? What game was the?
No, that was the Seahawks one.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was Super Bowl 51 was the season where Brady had to sit out the first 4 games as the penalty for Deflategate. Deflategate was not that. That was not that season. I don't even know what this is, a football podcast, right?
Can I in the football?
Yeah.
I know literally nothing about football, so I have zero.
Sports ball.
That's fair. I'm Canadian. I shouldn't either. What do you call 50 millionaires sitting around watching the Super Bowl? Nope, nobody. The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, you know what's funny? That season, Super Bowl 51 season, the Cowboys did pretty well. They were going strong, but then they blew it in the playoffs. A bunch of excited Cowboys fans bought tickets. My hotel in Houston was full of Cowboys fans.
And crying.
I mean, they already gotten that out of their system.
The reception had extra towels in every single hotel room because they were getting soaked in tears.
Stringer Films chiming back in with another $200 million super chat donation saying, we don't speak of that event. It never happened.
Yes.
Ooh, it was rough. And I like Matt Ryan. I like Matt Ryan. Yeah. Oh, Kay, funny joke here about The Undertaker losing the streak. Let me tell you, WrestleMania this year was awesome. First one I had seen first time I paid for one in a couple years. I don't know, should this be a wrestling podcast?
I mean, I would be much more well versed in a wrestling podcast than I would a football podcast, considering my previous
After we're done with the wrestling podcast, can we talk and make it a shuttle podcast? Because I really want to hear about Liam's trip.
Well, we got to get Liam back engaged and say Buran a couple times, right? Okay, well, let's see. So how about Liam or Chance? Any
who's next? Who actually worked on arcade machines on this arcade podcast?
I called it the Baran the entire time.
Projects I do have. I was going to start working on the Galaga this weekend. I don't know if it's been mentioned before here, but I've got all the parts now to do it, thanks to Arcade Maze, who was in the chat earlier. Don't know if he's still in the chat, but incredibly generous, sent us every piece that we were missing for this project. So hopefully we can put it together and get it working. And again, I was going to do it this weekend, except I realized I am out of bench space in the workshop. So today, reorganized. We've added 2 more tables to the workshop. Cleaned up a lot of extra stuff, and now there is space to bench test simultaneously Road Blasters, Star Trek, and Galaga with their CRTs up on the benches. So that is definitely good for moving forward, as I am going to be trying to fix all 3 of those games simultaneously. So that's definitely the way to go, right? With ordering parts from APAR as I find something new broken, try to order for 3 games to save on shipping.
It's always
the way.
Stock up on stuff you're always going to use. Right?
Yeah. So, it's especially hard when you have to do import taxes. So I feel you.
So for one brief glorious moment, I have lots of empty table space in the workshop that will soon be taken over by Galaga and Star Trek as soon as I get those harnesses out of their boxes.
I am using my AV cart as my workbench now, my soldering station, because almost every surface is covered with monitors. I got monitors out the wazoo. I traded for some monitors. I won some monitors at an auction. If anybody needs a 25-inch medium res tube, I'm your guy. I have no need for it. I didn't know that it was medium res until I got it. So it's got light 720 burn. So let me know.
Unfortunately, it's not a 100-degree tube.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, I live 20 hours away from you by car, so
I think you're a little bit farther than that right now.
yeah. Oh, wait, right now, yes, yeah. I don't. One of those aqua cars, maybe to.
James Bond.
I don't know. We go back in time tomorrow when we fly out of Paris and head for Calgary. Like we're gonna go back 8 hours. It's gonna be weird.
And what projects are you going to be going back to?
That's a good question. So I've got a few things kind of on the docket right now. Something that I haven't touched, which is sitting in the garage, is the nibbler cabinet. I was hoping to get to that this summer, but we have signed on to do potentially another show. So I'm going to be pretty busy other than doing like this and some other, small YouTube projects and whatnot. As far as like arcade work goes, I'll have my like regular stuff that I want to get done, but I don't think I'm going to be able to start that nibbler this season. Other than that, I've got my Eldorado still torn apart. That's going to be up next. Still got to get the cup holders on the tapper. I got to get those back from my buddy Cody. And then there was something else. I don't know, did we talk about this last podcast that I got my Hellfire and my Sheriff and the power supplies all restored?
I think so. That sounds familiar.
I think we talked about that. Yeah.
Go back real quick and listen to the previous podcast, and then come back and let us know if you talked about it.
Well, I was about to make a joke when your monitor went dim, Kay, that you were doing a Undertaker impression, but the moment passed.
I thought you guys were having a brownout or something.
I can do it again. Hang on. How's that?
Oh.
The dead man. The Phantom.
This is a wrestling podcast now.
It is now, yeah. Well, Chance, let's keep it rolling. What upcoming plans do you have? Stuff that you're going to be working on soon, or any parts of that, like other than saying, I'm too busy with work, right?
No. So I'm going to need to find some parts for that nibbler. I have to get into it. I have to basically clean up my garage a little bit.
Clean up your what now?
My garage.
Oh, your garage. Okay.
Garage. Okay, Mr. La-di-da Frenchman. So no, I basically one of the projects is clean up the garage. Garage. Does that sound better? There's like a bunch of hooligans over here at the train station, if you can hear them. So I got to clean up the garage.
Podcast fans?
Yeah. You've got a bunch here.
We're international, baby.
Yeah. No, so basically clean up the garage, and then I can get to the nibbler. I've got a Star Castle in there as well, but I'm kind of on the fence with what I'm going to do with that. It was given to me by a friend of mine. It's missing the board. The coin door's gone, and somebody poorly hand painted the side art on the front kick panel where the coin door was on a metal a metal sheet. It needs work.
Does it have the monitor and chassis?
It does have the monitor and chassis.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's the hardest part to find with those Cinematronics monitors. So yeah,
and that I think I was like the most grateful for when he gave it to me, because like the cabinet came out of Alaska. Actually, I think I showed it in the removing video. But so those are the two games that are kind of like next up on the list. If I get to the Star Castle, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I've always really wanted one of those games because I really like Star Castle. And fun fact, the first ever arcade cabinet I ever bought or traded or got that wasn't something that I built from scratch was like a knockoff Star Castle cabinet. And when I found that out, I was like, oh, this game seems cool. And someone had thrown like a 13-inch Geo7 in it. And so they'd pulled the vector monitor out. But when I found out what it was and I did some research on it, I was like, okay, Star Castle is like a sweet game. So I kind of always was looking for a Star Castle. And now that I have one, I'm like, do I love this game?
I had 3 of them at one point.
Yeah. They're fun.
Star Castle is awesome.
It's fun, but I don't think it's fun enough for me to have it as on a list item.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like I've got my list, and I've been very, very specific about what's on my list. And it wasn't until Grinkfest 7 that I was like almost done my list. I think I had Tapper and an ice cold beer left to go. And then when Josh and Cody and I were at Grinkfest 7, I went and made a new list. And I was like, well, this is my secondary list of the games I have to have. And Nibbler was one of the ones on that list. So it's there. It just it needs to get started, but the garage needs to be cleaned up and organized first. So
I think the three of you are just too young to appreciate Star Castle. You probably never had anyone really teach you how to play Star Castle. And you probably didn't grow up with a 2600 and playing Yar's Revenge. And Yar's Revenge is essentially a Star Castle port. Star Castle's great. I'm not going to let you guys badmouth Star Castle.
Why
badmouth
a Star
Galaga.
Castle?
Okay,
why
George
Star
Burns.
Castle when I can get a Vectrix and it plays pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, and it's portable-ish.
Portable.
It's portable. But yeah, so
as someone who had a 2600 and has had 3 Star Castles, shut up.
You got told. So that's kind of the goal. Like I think I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago that my goal in the last little bit has been to kind of whittle down how many projects I have going. I always had maybe 1 or 2 going at one time.
You getting out of the hobby?
No, not at all. No.
But make sure you make your next video have that in the title.
Yeah. I'm selling my games. No, but I legitimately wanted to get down from having 6 projects to having 2 at the most. And that's why last year I reorganized my basement a little bit for like where I was working on certain things. My bench, I had a little rolling bench I added. I made a really nice, cool IKEA like moving rolling bench. And then the plan was basically just to slowly check everything off the list and make sure everything was up and running. And getting the red tents and swapping the tubes out on those last month, that was like a big thing to go through those monitors. And so I think as soon as I get this Eldorado playfield swap done and then I rebuild the cabinet and decide what I'm going to do with the artwork on that pin, I'll have an idea of where I want to go next. But that's basically where I'm at. So.
Okay. All right. Liam, how about you? I know you're looking for 100-degree tubes. What else are you looking for? What else is on the horizon for you?
100-degree tubes. I've got 3 color vector monitors and only 1 tube. So would definitely love to track another couple down because there are things that I would love to do with those extra monitors. If I could find 2 more 100-degree tubes, I could build myself a tac scan and a Black Widow. So would definitely love to find those.
And I know we were talking, you were doing research into what consumer TVs, came with 100.
Yes, I have got a large
yoke
list
swap and stuff
now of compatible CRTs, TVs essentially across Zenith, Kazar, and JVC Panasonic. All have models with certain tubes that will work. So I'm looking to try to find those CRTs somewhere on Facebook or something.
And again, what we're talking about is like the angle of the curve of the front of the tube, right?
Yeah.
And most are 90, correct? But
Yeah.
these are less common and they're 100.
Yeah, so the problem is, as CRT technology improved, right? You had 90-degree tubes early on, and that's what most arcade monitors used. And you had a few 100-degree tubes. Color Vectors used them. A few CRTs in the mid-'80s, televisions used them. But then as TVs were getting larger, the 25-inch and things, they actually made them shallower. So the jump is from like 90 to 110, and 100 got left behind. And you can't use the 110-degree tubes very much either.
Well, and then eventually there were flat CRTs.
Yeah. So looking for those. I don't care if it's 19-inch or 25-inch. I don't care what the neck pinout is. Any of it works. I have everything else. Just need 100-degree tubes for that. As far as other parts.
And apparently Liam's willing to drive up to 1,000 miles each way to
Something like that. Yeah, I'm willing to drive a good bit for a compatible tube. Other than that, parts wise, I'm not sure I'm looking for anything right now. Maybe Star Trek stuff down the line if I determine that some of those boards are bad. I mean, I haven't gotten into test it yet, so I wouldn't know what I'm looking for. So yeah, no, I'm pretty good right now, other than need tubes.
Well, I guess I didn't answer the question of what I'm looking for either. Did you ask me that earlier?
I
Or
did.
did you just ask me what projects I was working on? I was mixed those two things up.
Well, but part of the same topic.
Oh, okay.
What are you looking for, Chance?
Oh, yes. Well, Matt SNES has been helping me out with some play choice cartridges, so I've pretty much got that covered, minus Double Dragon cartridge, which I'd like to get a handle on, and RC Pro Am. I had Super RC Pro Am on Game Boy when I was a kid, and RC Pro Am on play choice looks rad. So I'd really like to get that.
Oh, I don't have it. It's not in there right now.
Do you have that?
I do. I don't have number 2. I've got the first one.
Oh yeah, I just want the first one, or unless the second one, whichever one is closer to the Game Boy, I think is what it is. But Matt was actually awesome. Yeah, there's a Game Boy version of Super RC Pro Am, and it's so much fun. But anyway, so Matt was helping me out. He had kind of reverse engineered one of the mappers of the play choice games, and so he was able to hook me up with a couple of things. Matt, I know you're watching this. We still have a trade. We need to figure the math out on that, or trade or sale or whatever. We got to go through my cables. But he's been awesome in helping me fill out that Wild Gunman cab and getting me Wild Gunman specifically, and then a couple of other cartridges. So he was able to
screen accurate Wild Gunman cab.
Yeah, we're working on that. So that's, I guess, the other thing that I'm kind of working on, but there's nothing that anyone can help me on because I need, a props builder from the film industry to help me with the last bit of that. But so there's that there, and there will be nibbler parts. I don't really know what those are yet. So
cool.
Yeah.
And Kay, how about you? In addition to what you've mentioned, anything you're looking for, things that are showstoppers on any of the projects you got going on?
The only thing I have written down in my notes is make some sales. That's it. I'm broke.
There you go. Prime Arcade Sales and Repair, West Texas.
If you are looking for classic arcade machines, if you are looking for a Dance Dance Revolution that plays over 5,000 songs, like you're looking for a Baby Pac-Man, this is the kind of stuff I got right now.
For your home or business.
Indeed.
Break room at work. Rec room and basement.
And if Liam is willing to drive over 1,000 miles for terrible machines, surely you'd be willing to drive the same distance for fully working refurbished ones. I mean, come on.
Sorry to disappoint you. I do like the projects.
No, not. I'm not saying that you're going to come get my stuff. I'm just saying that someone else should be willing to have the same amount of effort to come buy my stuff.
I don't see why not.
There you go.
Yeah, you don't have termites in Texas, do you?
Well, I don't have termites in my shop, but I mean, they do actually exist around here, yeah.
Okay.
Although you would think it'd be too hot for them to exist.
Yeah,
there's no termites in Alberta, just like there's no rats.
Yeah, we don't have termites, and we definitely don't have rats.
No beaches either.
No, well, no, that's not true. We do have beaches. We have a few, actually, quite a few.
Lake beaches don't count. No saltwater beaches.
There are no beaches down here. I
just
get
like
no beaches.
Just like West Virginia, it's a stranger to blue water.
Fair.
Cool. So as for me, let's see. I've got a pickup video coming out tomorrow. That's the pickup video for a pickup I talked about in the last podcast. I got a HS5, HS6, which is the Dynamo Cocktail. That's really cool, actually. And a Ms. Pac Mini. So that video is coming out tomorrow. It's coming out tomorrow because we did the podcast today. That video is available for early access to channel members since yesterday. And last week, so I'm doing 2 weeks back to back of a Monday release. Usually I release my videos on Sunday afternoons. the reason it got screwed up last week is the video was 2 hours long. Editing took forever. My computer was having trouble rendering it as a single file, so I had to chop it up and then stitch it back together. It was a whole mess, but it still did really well. And it did well right off the start. I don't know if it was the tasteful clickbait or the timing. So we'll see how it does. The video does tomorrow on Monday. And in addition, I'm still waiting to pick up 3 more games. So in addition to the ones that I got from Dillweed, in addition to the ones I'm showing tomorrow, in addition to I think I mentioned that the termite cabinet was a Bubbles. Did I mention? I think I mentioned that before, right? So there's a Bubbles in my garage. I've still got 3 more games awaiting pickup. Another Centauri cabinet from Mark, back to the media. That'll be my second Centauri. Actually, I think these are in the wrong order. The second Centauri will come from Jerry Voluptuous, so he's got a Centauri waiting for me to pick up. That'll be my second Centauri. Another Centauri picking up from Mark will be the third. So having gone from no Centauris to 3 Centauris in rapid succession will be cool. And I've got a really interesting Data East cabinet that Jeff Kinder has picked up for me. So I've got a trip coming up. I'll be grabbing all of that. So that should be really fun. So we have now covered the standard updates that we always do. And then typically we would be transitioning into our main topics at this point. But we kind of touched on them a little bit already. Our main topics were going to be, this sort of therapy session for Liam where he could talk through his feelings and talk through everything that happened, and we could provide that sort of, care and love and support for him.
Yeah, none of that. I want to hear about Kennedy. Come on.
Okay, well, let's talk space shuttles then.
No. Sorry, I needed to get that in there.
So do we have other kind of, I can't remember. We talked about this a little bit, right? What happens if something goes wrong during a pickup? And I think the biggest issue for me was termites, but not nearly as severe as what Liam and Sam went through. Clearly, this was the biggest, pickup gone wrong that Liam and Sam have experienced. I can't remember, Kay and Chance, have you had bad pickups? Have you had anything even close to this in the past?
Yep.
I want to hear Kay. Yeah, go ahead, Kay.
All right, so I'm considering bad pickup stories to not only be machines that I go to pick up, but people who come to pick up a machine from me. So I do have a few of those stories. Before I start that, a simple disclaimer. In order to avoid stuff like this, before you go to buy a machine, be able to walk away from it. I know there's gas, there's time, there's all this that's put into especially making a road trip to go and take a look at something. But if you get there and you look at what you're going to buy and it's not as advertised by a wide margin, don't try to cut down on the price. Just walk away. Yeah. And if you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't make that trip in the first place, because I expect disappointment when I get there. And if it's not at least close to what was advertised, I'm like, this isn't what you sold, what I was buying. This isn't what you sold me on. I don't want to deal with you, and I'll walk away. Now, sometimes they'll chase me down in the parking lot and try to make a deal there, and
waving money.
Yeah, at that point, it's like, all right, we'll talk a little bit, but if I don't like what I hear, I'm out. So if you're not willing to do that, then it's going to be more often than not you're going to find something that wasn't as advertised. Most recently, I would say a machine that I went to pick up, which I might have mentioned this before, but I picked up a Galaga from a town that's about an hour away. And I knew from the pictures that it was an original dedicated cabinet, but all the guts have been taken out and replaced with a multicade. And the monitor was replaced by an actual CRT computer monitor that they just mounted in there with L brackets and screws. But whenever I looked, I knew what I was buying, so I was like, yeah, this is fine, I'll take it. It was like $300. And I went to put it on the dolly and tilted it back, and the bottom fell out completely. Ugh. It just snapped right off, and my dolly was picking up the bottom and nothing else, and the rest of the cabinet just started to lean forward. At that point, I'd already paid the guy, and it was already invested, so I was like, well, got to take it. So when I get to that Galaga, I'm ripping out all the contents, and I'll be cutting off the bottom 2 or 3 inches entirely and just rebuilding a whole new base on it, which is more work than I wanted to do, but.
I'm sorry, that begs the question, like in a situation like that, do you have to take it? Like you've paid the guy in cash.
Yeah.
How long, like, I'm just envisioning this, you standing there with your dolly and rolling it up to him, like you put cash on the glass and then it was basically roll the dolly up, tilt it back, and the whole thing drops out.
Mm-hmm.
And at what point is the seller have some responsibility to say, oh crap, like, all right, and then you mutually back out, or was the guy just a D-bag?
At that point, I was like, this might as well have happened, and I just took it because I knew it was something I could fix. There was nothing down there that was going to be permanently damaged. I already saw water damage on the bottom edges of the cabinet anyway, so there was a pretty good chance that I was going to end up cutting off that bottom part anyway. So it really wasn't going to be much more work than I thought it was. It was just kind of disappointing. I think it would be better to pay for it after it's already on the truck. And that's probably going to be my policy from now on, as Chance gets accosted by some random passerby.
That's exactly the word I was going to use, accosted. We did briefly get a Chance Johnson hair reveal, which I think is first time I've ever seen.
Okay, sorry. I left for 2 seconds to talk to a couple of drunk guys on the side of the road, and you're talking about my hair now.
You took your hat off. This is
not a hair
reveal.
podcast.
There you go.
Great head of hair for a 40-year-old man.
There you go.
A little bit of gray in there.
You totally can't see the seam between the toupee.
Oh, it's real.
What's the link of the,
Oh, this is my hat. I've worn a hat, like, except for sleeping, I've worn a hat every single day I've been here except for one.
There you go.
All right, so continuing on
sorry.
You're talking about the tail light warranty, right?
Yeah, that's basically it. And so I should have thrown it in the truck and then paid the guy, because
you don't know what that means?
As soon as you drive away, it's no longer under warranty.
It's guaranteed
to work until tail lights.
Yeah, it's guaranteed to work until you can no longer see my tail lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually, if I'm buying something that's not that far away from me and I'm not spending that much on to begin with, something like that is usually not going to deter me much. But it would have been better in my favor if I had tried to pay him after I loaded it, because I could have tilted it back like that and been like, dude, I can't pay you full price for this. It's literally falling apart before I get it out your door. So that's on me. I'll make sure to do these things in a different order from now on. I usually do. I was kind of in a hurry to get that thing in the truck and get back home because it was late in the day. There was also a 6-man X-player, X-Men 6-player. The
6-man X-player?
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a total different game. Don't worry about that one.
Yeah.
An X-Men 6-player cabinet.
This is a family show, okay.
Yeah, so come to the after hours on our members-only Discord. We'll talk about that game. So it was an X-Men 6-player cabinet that someone had advertised as part of their garage sale, and they wanted $500 for it. So I go and take a look at it, and it is destroyed. This cabinet, the cabinet itself, not so bad, but as the internals, they were like the board was rusted out. There had been mice in there. All the wiring had been pretty much destroyed. Monitors weren't in that great a shape either. It was a project for sure, but it wasn't one that I really wanted, just because it would have been a huge undertaking to pretty much replace the PCB. Wiring harness would have been so bad, rebuilding the monitors. But I was still working out of my garage at the time, and that 6-player X-Men would have taken up half of it. And so I couldn't really justify the space that it would have taken. So I walked away. I was like, thanks for showing it to me. I don't want to pay $500 for this thing to take up half my garage and me eventually get to it, maybe. So as I started to drive away, he was just like, you can just have it. So I took it. I put it in a storage unit.
The space was more valuable to him.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah. And it was already sitting outside, so I know he didn't want to take it back inside, and that made it a whole lot easier for me to load it because I just put it on the liftgate, put it in the truck. and I had a friend with me to help, so even that part wasn't so bad. I ended up putting it in storage and then ended up selling it as is to someone that was willing to take on the project. So that it didn't go to waste. It didn't get taken to the dump or anything like that. But that's one of those things where I was willing to walk away just because it was too much of an undertaking. And at a time like this where I've got the shop and I've got the space, I'd be more likely to grab something like that now. But when all you have is a storage unit that's a 10 by 10, that X-Men takes up pretty much the entire thing. So I couldn't justify the cost, but for free I could.
The X-Men could have become your workshop. You could just do.
Yeah, I could set other projects into it.
Inside of it. Exactly.
Climb in there, put up a bench, like you're good.
Yeah.
And hey, we got, speaking of Tony Arrowwood, he actually just joined the live chat, Arcade Woodshop. Like I mentioned, Tony makes the best reproduction Williams control panels, and he makes full cabinets too. Has a great YouTube channel called the Arcade Woodshop. So if you want to learn how to do things, repair cabinets and build cabinets a lot better than I could possibly do, go check out his channel. I learned a ton from Tony. Super awesome, nice guy. Glad he was able to join us here. Sorry, Kay, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I do have one more story. I have pictures for the story. I will not show them, but they are the bane of many people's existence on my Facebook whenever they come up on my memories because I share it every year. I had a Miss Pac-Man.
Why would you say that and not actually show them? I'm disappointed in you.
It's a family
They're not
show.
safe for work.
Okay.
I'll explain. So I had fixed a Miss Pac-Man for a client, and they were coming to my garage to pick it up. And
There she.
I took the back door off and was double checking everything to make sure it was all secure. And when I went to put the back door back on it, Inka was like, "It's the worst." Yeah, she's seen it. As I was putting the back door back on the Miss Pac, it slipped out of my hands and landed directly on the big toe of my right foot. And I was wearing flip-flops at the time.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought you said you necked the tube.
No. This is a personal injury.
The entire time you've been telling this story, I've been like backdoor slipped on
toes heal.
Anyway,
toes heal. Necks don't heal.
That's true. I've necked several monitors by accident, but not like this. No, the back door came down full force on my right big toe and nothing else. So it took the full brunt of the hit. My toe broke immediately and started bleeding. And the guy was like 5 minutes away, so I kind of had to just walk it off and go ahead, put the back door on, and load the damn thing into his truck.
Dragging the bloody stump behind you.
Yeah, I was just hopping on one leg, trying to push a dolly. But I took pictures of it the next few days as the wound progressed, and the nail had cracked and it turned green. I color matched it to the outside of a box of Girl Scout Thin Mints. That's about the color that my toe turned. And then eventually the toenail came completely off. So I have pictures of the toenail coming off and just the bare underneath the toe. And I share that on my Facebook every year, and I think I lose a few friends every time I do.
Available.
So this is an orthopedics podcast now.
Yeah. We wear many hats here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is one of the most memorable injuries I've gotten while working on arcade machines. I do have a different picture of the same toe getting absolutely destroyed and completely bruised, but that was from a desk that I was moving, falling on it, not an arcade machine. So I guess that one doesn't technically count, but those pictures are pretty gnarly too.
This has been a lovely, family-friendly story.
I mean, hopefully we don't have to do a dedicated podcast in the future about injuries, arcade-related injuries. We can talk about how Cameron McCaslin was almost crushed by a Zaxxon. What a way to go. But
That would have been the worst way to go.
Speaking of pickups gone wrong, I can't believe that nobody has commented on the shirt that I wore special for this episode. And if you can't read it, it says, "I survived the Varcon
sale."
Did anyone actually pick it up?
They made that shirt.
Yes, someone did in fact buy the Varcon.
And I bought the t-shirt.
Do you know what it went for?
I don't
it was
know.
like 5,500 or something.
Okay, for the 13,000th time, can somebody paraphrase to me what that was about in like simple English, 2 sentences or less? Because like
That could be an entire podcast.
everywhere.
That could be an entire
because-
podcast.
I'll simplify it for you. If you took a very valuable machine and you left it outside in the rain for 30 years and then tried to sell it for full value, and everybody made fun of you for it, and you didn't care, that would be this thread.
Well, that was the first page.
And
then what happened was
137 pages.
So, and then what happened was somebody said, I want it. I need to have it. That's my grail. And they paid full asking price. And this person is the buyer was based in the UK. They paid for it. They hired a courier to go pick it up from the seller and then figure out shipping, right? And as the courier is on their way to pick it up, the buyer says, never mind, deal's off.
What?
And so we might at some point invite the aggrieved party onto the episode, but that is the sort of second half of this summary. That's the other 39 pages of that thread. So yeah. So
anyway,
interestingly, we have this is a user name that I'm not familiar with, VCPD, which I'm hoping is not this person who works for a police department and is accidentally commenting with their work account. But
I bet it's Virtuous City, which would be the
Virtuous City PD.
You're a cop. If you're a cop, you got to tell us you're a cop.
Yeah,
you got to say you're a cop, or that's entrapment.
There you go. VCPD says, I picked up, I'll just highlight it. I picked up a missile command that's been converted to Mr. Do. It still has the missile command PCB boards in it, which is very uncommon for that to happen in a conversion where the operator would leave the original boards in after doing a conversion. Yeah. And VCPD asks, is it worth to try to do a deconversion? There's a little bit more context here too. They say it works as a Mr. Do right now. The sides have been painted over. Very common. Harness is a mess, very common. And controls have been swapped. I would suspect they probably swapped the entire control panel or did some sort of sloppy repair to cover up the trackball hole, because Missile Command also has the giant trackball. So there would be a giant gaping hole in the control panel. So that's about it. So Liam was starting to respond, but why don't we start with Liam? We'll go around the horn. What's your take on what VCPD should do here? Obviously, this is their own thing. It's their own property. They can do whatever you want. But what would you do if this was your machine?
I would restore it. I mean, the boards are already in there still, which is insane. That's just begging to be restored back to its original shape. You can put a Mr. Do into anything, but Missile Command should be its Missile Command.
How about you, Kay?
Take the Mr. Do parts out, take the Missile Command parts out, sell all those, turn it to a 16-1.
I was just going to say that was your answer.
There's the wild card take right there.
So,
how about,
is that a wild card take at this point, or is that just like we expect to hear that? Like,
for me, it would be what is the most cost-efficient thing to do, and it sounds like for the most part, a lot of your Missile Command parts are going to be there, and I can sell a Missile Command a lot easier than I can sell a Mr. Do. So if I might actually go with a full restoration, so I'd have a really nice-looking Missile Command that could sell for a pretty premium price.
And then you could still slap the Mr. Do PCB in any other random cabinet.
I would slap the Mr. Do PCB up for sale because I'm not building a Mr. Do for anyone because no one's looking for it.
Okay. I mean, Ty Laurie out there, Uncle Tiggy, Mr. Do is and he has a beautiful, dedicated Universal Mr. Do. But he always chimes in if anyone is ever disparaging Mr. Do. So, and it's not Mr. Do, it's Mr. Do.
More like Mr. Don't, am I right?
Ooh. I like Do Run Run. I think Do Run Run is the best Mr. Do game, but that's just me. Chance, what about
Mr.
you?
Do's Castle.
Yeah. What would you do in this case, Chance?
When I read the comments, because I'm today years old when I found out that we could add the YouTube comments to the side of StreamYard. When I read that as a cocktail. So my mind went like back to the PTSD I had of helping my buddy fully restore his Missile Command cocktail. I think unquestionably Missile Command is a fun game. And Mr. Do, as said before, honestly, Mr. Do can go in anything. Take Mr. Do out, use the parts for the Mr. Do, like the sale from the parts, to help fund restoring it as a Missile Command. And if you don't really like Missile Command, I would say the respectable thing would be to pass, trade, sell that game off to somebody who does, that wants to make the restoration. I know everyone's like, oh, you got to restore every single thing that's out there. But to be honest with you, like, it's not like there was only like 4 Missile Commands ever made. That game was a very popular game. Okay.
Hold on. On that point,
yeah.
Is this a cockpit?
Is this a cockpit?
Can you imagine an environmental Mr. Do?
I've seen a Missile Command cockpit turn into a Puyan.
Okay.
So.
I wonder what the laws are about throwing up on Belgian streets. No, if it is a cockpit, I'm going to change my answer completely. But here's what I'm getting at. Yeah, there's a million of them out there, Missile Commands out there, and there's a million Mr. Do's and all the variants out there as well.
There's
but
a
I think
billion Mr. Do's.
There's a billion of them with a big capital B. I think that game deserves to be a Missile Command. And like I was saying, if it's not your game, if you don't like playing Missile Command, that's fine. Sell or trade it off. I think when a lot of collectors that I know, they're like, well, I it's a cabinet, it's shown up, and they just rush out to get something, especially any new collectors. But they're kind of like, then it just sits and it collects dust. And there might be someone out there who might want it, or there might be someone out there who will give it the love and respect that it deserves. And I think you get to a point where you're like, hey, I don't necessarily want this, or I don't necessarily want to make this back into what it was. But my argument is it kind of deserves to be, if it survived this far, especially like particle board cabinets, if they've survived this far, they deserve to go back. So
Atari used high quality particle board though.
Yeah.
It's none of this gremlin stuff.
Bullshit. I'm getting really good at beeping myself out, aren't I?
Well,
that one was kind of close.
Let me say that it would be great that if it was an environmental cabinet, you could make an environmental 16-1, and that would be very unique.
Can we just mute him on the next super chat?
Yes, please.
Please, because like I know he's making a joke, but that's like hurtful.
Every time he says 16-1, just
but the 16 the Coin Jam podcast bingo card has like 60-1 from K.
Now to think about it, since Missile Command uses a horizontal monitor, it should obviously be Pandora's
for
box.
the love of God.
Not a 19-1.
Yeah, look, I mean, but a Pandora's box has way more games, and if you just want value.
Well, side question here. You sell a ton of 16-1s. Do you sell any 19-1s, Kay?
Not really. No one ever asked me for a 19-1. The only time I've ever had one is when I buy a cabinet that's already got one in it.
What about like a King of Air, like one of those like 56-1 upright shoot 'ems?
No, I really don't get many requests for shoot 'em ups either. So it's the only multicades I sell are 16-1s and Pandora's boxes, and no one has ever asked for anything else.
So VCPD just said that his is an upright. Okay, cool. Yeah, honestly, I would restore it, or I would get it into the hands or trade it or sell it into the hands of another collector in your area who would want to restore it. And then just to touch on it, because we kind of touched on it, if anybody does find a Missile Command upright and you didn't know, those things are stupidly rare, and you should probably restore it or again sell it or cockpit. Sorry.
Yeah, there's like 15 of them, something like that.
Dude, it's
they
like,
made 50, and there's like 15 known to exist still.
Yeah,
it's like 12:36 in the morning.
I saw one about a month ago, so
they're great.
Where did you
I played
see
one
this?
at Grinkers.
Someplace.
That's the one with the artwork is wrong on both sides, right?
The Grinkers one?
Oh, hold on one second.
And it's
Bill? Or room number.
You're not mute.
Okay.
Goodness gracious. All right, I muted him. So my take on this.
Super chat donation to save us from this.
I fall on the preservation side too. I do like Chance's idea of, if you don't want to restore it, offer it up to somebody who else that might, right? They might be willing to trade you something that you do really want, right? If you're not in love with Mr. Do, you're not in love with Missile Command, offer it up. Somebody else might be willing to trade you something that you want for that. I also have, one thing you can do is in the meantime, right? Just enjoy it as a Mr. Do if it's working, enjoy it as a Mr. Do for now until you decide exactly what you want to do, or maybe you slowly start to acquire the parts, right? Missile Command, especially the upright, is a little bit interesting too. So the harness, probably not too bad. I'm sure you can find, maybe there's a JAMA. Maybe is there a Missile Command to JAMA? Well, no, because Mr. Do is not a JAMA. You can if you have a working harness, you might be able to get a series of adapters, right? Missile Command harnesses, I don't think are particularly uncommon, right? Somebody might reproduce them like Charles Klein or Golden Age Arcade Parts. Somebody might reproduce that harness.
Somebody does. I've seen it out there.
Wayne is saying that Golden Age does that. They might even be able to repair it, right? Depending on how hacked up it is, you might be able to repair it. If you look at the schematics, like Liam is saying, you should be able to see what you need to do to fix it. Another thing that's interesting about Missile Command, in addition to the trackball, and I think Arcade Shop sells reproduction of the big trackballs because
Millipede was selling a bunch of them today on Kalov.
Yeah,
really?
Millipede uses the same one. It's the big black trackball.
Millipede does not use the same one.
It's not the same one?
It does. No, it is not the same one.
Missile Command
the
uses
missile one's
like
even
bowling
bigger.
ball trackball.
Yeah, the Missile Command
Disregard.
one is like a big giant, and then the other ones are 290 millimeter or 3-inch trackballs. I think.
Because there's four sizes, right? There's Missile Command, there's Millipede, there's Centipede, and then there's the mini one, like the Missile Command
cocktails. Yeah,
is that smaller than Centipede?
Yeah, I want to say the
tiny.
standard side for like a Centipede is like a 2.25 inch. And then the larger ones are 3-inch, and then the big ones that you find in like Capcom bowling and stuff like that are 4-inch. And that would
you
be
can kill a man with that trackball.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting about the Missile Command upright is you have that marquee with the integrated speakers, right?
Yeah.
So another thing to consider VCPD is, do you have the Missile Command marquee still, or has that been removed with just like a piece of plexi, and like did they cut a hole for a speaker or something like that? So interesting question there for sure.
I think the end all to be all is, if you do want to restore it, I would start in the restoration section of Klov and Kalov, or however Liam pronounces it. I would Klov, and I would post it up there, and I would get some good pictures. Take your smartphone out, get some good pictures of it, and say, look, this is where I'm starting. I have no idea what I want to do with it. And people there will help you out. People will probably have parts. It's the best way to get parts is to say, look, I've got this and I'm planning on doing this. People come out of the woodwork and go, hey, here you go. Unless it's for, tap handles, which eventually years later would happen. But I would start a Klov thread.
Yeah, and for me, I'm restoring it's in my queue, a Missile Command cockpit. I actually just dragged it out recently because in the Overtime Arcade members only Discord, Matt SNES Cube 64 earlier was selling a Missile Command PCB set, and I'm like, well, let me go test and see if do some basic diagnostics with mine, and I realized my harness is all hacked up, and that's why. So like the first, I only ever turned it on once, and I got a white screen on the monitor, which isn't even the correct monitor. So I think originally Missile Command Cocktails had 100-volt like Japanese monitor, but this one has a Geo 7 FBO crammed into a Vision Pro cocktail frame, 13-inch Vision Pro cocktail frame, crammed into this cockpit or this cocktail, and they've like cut some of the wood to make it fit. I'm assuming they changed out the isolation transformer from 100 to 120. But anyway, turned it on, white screen, board wasn't booting. And when I went to look at it, and I ended up buying the PCB from Matt, I looked at it, and the harness is all hacked up. And I'm like, I don't even want to turn this on, as bad as the harness was. So, yeah. But
I will say, if you have a Missile Command cocktail, or you're thinking of making a Missile Command cocktail, from another Atari cocktail. They are quite different. Because we talked about the other two, so we might as well just mention it. A very, very, very good friend of ours in the hobby, Andre, he nabbed an asteroids cocktail from me from a big Atari buy that I had done a few years ago. And Missile Command was like his grail, needed to have it, and he only had space for a cocktail, so we thought we would convert what was left of this into it. There are some subtle and important differences for the Missile Command cocktail and the Asteroids cocktail. They're not compatible unless you replace those little wings that go on either side of the control panel and some other strips of wood. They are fairly different, even though they look identical. And also, nobody reproduces the glass artwork for that yet, or anymore. I know this old game used to do it back in the day. Rich doesn't.
My artwork's still intact.
Is it? I've seen
it's
so
cool.
many.
It's cool. It's very small, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, VCPD. Thank you for asking, and keep us posted on what you end up deciding to do and the progress that you make. So let's see. Should we talk a little bit more about where in the world is Chance Johnson? Is there anything else left to that? There's a whole scandal in the world of F1 today. I don't know if anyone's following that. Right?
There was no scandal. His car was underweight.
But he was disqualified after winning the race, correct?
That happens. That happens every so often.
Maybe scandal's the wrong word. Huge controversy, huge surprise.
So I will put it into layman's terms for those who don't care or don't know. So Formula One, the formula of Formula One, has a bunch of technical regulations and sporting
regulations.
Race
cars.
This is race cars. This is the pinnacle of motorsport. So there was a driver today who ended up with an amazing strategy and like outfoxed every other driver, even his own teammate, a 7-time world champion. And once he pulled over, and this is like his third win of all time. So once he pulled over, every time when you're finished a race in Formula One, they scrutinize the ever living crap out of you and your car, like specific weights and fuel and all these technical things. It's extremely technical, and that's actually what as I get older, that draws me towards Formula One is the delicate technical bits of it. And so he was underweight by 1.5 kilograms. And that amount of weight, considering how very specifically engineered these cars are, 1.5 kilograms is worth like 1/10 or 2/10, and it just disqualified him from the race. There's no controversy. That's all it happened.
Here's my question though, right?
Here's my question.
So,
what the hell's a kilogram?
What's that in freedom units?
Yeah. Like 3.32 pounds, I think.
Thank you for putting it into American.
There you go.
Yes, you're welcome.
So my question though, right? Because something that I've learned, I also have another friend who's into F1, right? One of the things I've learned from just osmosis from you all is it's more of a team sport than you might think, right? And in my mind, I'm always thinking of like Ricky Bobby and Carl Naughton Jr. and they would do the slingshot. They're like teammates working together, right, to try to get one of them. So, and the driver in question who won and then was later disqualified, Team Mercedes, his teammate, also Mercedes, finished second, and your driver for McLaren finished third. So my question is, in that scenario, Team Mercedes first place, Team Mercedes second place, Team McLaren third place. If the Mercedes winner was disqualified, shouldn't his teammate be disqualified too?
No, because this
strategy,
yeah.
Let's say there's a scenario where this strategy somehow allowed both him and his teammate, even if his teammate's car was not underweight, but him getting ahead and blah blah blah, right? Why is not the entire team disqualified?
Great question. So the cars are actually set up differently. Even though you have a team with 2 cars, and back in the past, sometimes they used to have 3 cars. The cars are not always set up the same. The cars have, because drivers have such a very unique driving style that fits the way that they drive the car through certain corners, and there's so much fitness involved in it, and like their strengths and their weaknesses. Each side of the garage of one particular team will set up their car differently. And sometimes when you get into a position where one team or one driver is jockeying for world championship points and the other one like could be competitive, they won't even talk across the garage. Even though it is a team sport, they won't talk across the garage. So when it comes to, why was the second place driver not disqualified? Because it was very simple. At the end of the race, when they do all of the checks on the car to make sure that the car was legal in the race, they found that his car was not underweight.
And they don't check this before the race?
Well, so yeah, they weigh the car before the race and they weigh the car after the race. And that's one of the many, many, many dozens and dozens and dozens of things for like length and flex. There's some really cool things about aerodynamics and the flexibility of carbon fiber, where teams in the past have designed new types of new ways of creating carbon fiber parts when they're under a certain load created by certain speeds and air speeds, that it will flex the wing more and allow for greater airflow for more downforce, or to get around some of the rules. So now there are things like the wings can't flex at a certain rate. Like, it's really, really insane. And so weight was one of the things, and fuel was one of the things. And in this case, it was a fuel thing. So he was just disqualified, and that bumps everybody up the chart. And so one of our drivers, he went from a third place podium to a second place podium. Yeah, it's great.
So I have a ton more technical questions. Like, how do they know it wasn't weight loss due to damage, right? Like, there could be a ton of things that affect that.
Yeah, it's part of the scrutiny of the car. So, like, you'll know if a car gets damaged. And then the FIA works very, very closely alongside the teams to make sure, like, these are very technical, very heavily designed and documented vehicles. Yeah.
That's an Atari game called Gotcha.
Yeah. So, but honestly, there's so much scrutineering that's done with these vehicles that there's no controversy here or anything. It was straight up. He had to provide, as all drivers have to be able to provide, a fuel sample of a certain size, and it just because of the nature of how it was done. This happened in 2021 as well to another driver where the fuel sample, basically, when they took the fuel out, they realized that they were underweight. So it is what it is, and that's part of the game. So it was actually really fun fact. It was funny that tour bus that I was on. So Vanessa and I did this trip through Formula One experiences. So like we had like a shuttle, because like it's like a 45-minute drive to the track through the Ardennes forest. Essentially, it was built like 100 years ago out in the middle of nowhere. Lovely country. And we had to wait like 2 hours before the tour bus could leave because the traffic gets so bad. So when the news of him potentially getting, like when his win got called into question, I was sitting there at that moment in time, like just reading Formula One news on my phone. And I said out loud the headline to Vanessa, and like a bunch of people in the tour bus turned around, who were basically, there's very few McLaren fans that were on this bus. Everyone was Mercedes and Red Bull and Ferrari. And they were like, "Whoa, sorry, what happened?" So I had to like announce to the bus what the controversy was. And then about half an hour later, our bus driver, tour guide guy got on the line and he says, "Yeah, it's official now. He had the win removed from him in this whole thing." But it's not controversy. It's straight up like it was an issue. So he's already accepted it, and he's been apologized to by the team. So,
and that was the motorsports portion of today's episode. Yes. Getting back to arcade stuff, one question that we had last time that we didn't get to because it was a jam-packed episode that people wanted us to talk about was any tips, tricks, tactics, techniques for moving games up and down stairs solo without getting killed, right? So these things are heavy. These are giant refrigerator boxes. There's different tools. There's different techniques. Who wants to chime in first with what, Chance? You're giving me the...
No, I'll jump in first because I have two.
What, Chance?
First and foremost, if you don't feel comfortable lifting it, call a moving company. Don't do it yourself. Nobody
Which
needs
is
to
really
die
cheap.
under a... Yeah, but nobody needs to die under a Zaxxon. Let's be honest. And secondly, those dollies, I think that video that I'm going to plug, the Canadian Arcade here. The video that we recently released, I show one of those dollies with the drop down legs on it. That thing is amazing. But the problem with it is it's good for like moving pinball machines and arcade games by yourself around big flat spaces like concrete, linoleum, that kind of thing. But one of the things that I didn't touch on in that video is a dolly is a lot like a screwdriver or a hammer. There's many, many different types of dollies out there. And honestly, if you're going to get really serious into this hobby, I would really suggest getting at least a couple of different kinds. One, the ones with the drop back, and then two, one of the ones with the stair climbing tread on the back. And again, it's an expense, but it's something that can save your health and well-being down the road. And I think that's just my number one tip I can give you.
Liam, how about you? How'd you get that 6-player X-Men?
No stairs.
No stairs.
Yeah. We only had one step to get in the trailer, get out of the trailer, and get up into the game room. One step at a time. Stair climbing dolly. Yeah, we don't have a Escalera or whatever it is. We just have one with the tread on the back, and that's been fine for all the games that we picked up. I did pull a battle zone out of a basement that had a opened up door, so it was just like a ladder. That was the hardest pull I think we've done, just because to basically lift the battle zone straight up to get it out of there, even though it was on the dolly.
And Battlezone Upright's not a light game, right?
No, it's heavy. Battlezone Upright is heavy. It's tall and heavy.
Top heavy too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure that you get a dolly that has a strap. Strap the game to the dolly. It's definitely
that thing will crush you to death and will not ask questions of forgiveness.
Yeah, that's
casualty of war.
There's a reason it has that footstep.
Yeah, and the warning with the footstep.
Yeah, don't take it off, otherwise it will fall and crush you.
Yeah, this is required to make the game stable.
Kay, you've probably done this more than any of us, going out and extracting machines from people's homes and basements and that, maybe sometimes upstairs coming, right? So what are techniques that you've come up with? Do you have an Escalera?
No. I have a good appliance dolly with the stair climbing treads, the extra set of wheels that fold out, and the ratcheting strap. So all three of those.
You can get one with all three?
Yeah, mine has all three. I've got two of them.
Can you send me an Amazon link?
I got it at Northern Tool. They're about $200.
Okay, well that's hot tip of the day. I've never seen that. That's gorgeous. I'm gonna look for one of those.
Apparently, Canadian Tire doesn't carry it.
No, no, they want to try and sell you a 4-in-1 dolly with one of the little with the thing on the bottom that folds up and wants to break whenever you try and lift a game.
No, the dolly that I have is pretty high quality, and I have set many games back on those extra legs and never felt like it was going to fall out from under it and crush me. That's never happened. What I wrote in my notes when it comes to moving games up and down stairs by yourself is don't. First of all, there are no basements in Texas, so I've never had to pull a game up a flight of stairs anyway.
But not even at the Alamo? We need the rim shot soundboard chance.
No basement.
Sorry,
nobody gets that reference.
Yeah,
yeah. Too young.
I get it. Don't forget about it either. So, yeah, I've never had to pull a game up a flight of stairs because even when I do deliveries, I distinctly put in my paperwork I don't do stairs. So if you want a game on your second story, I will put it on the dolly. I will take it to the base of the stairs. And then I will step aside, and it is your problem to get it up the stairs. And then I will set it up for you after you've gotten it up there. And I've done that a few times. Usually it's people that have some of their friends come over, and like 4 of them get together and yank this dolly up a flight of stairs. That's happened a few times. But I don't do stairs for people. And I never really bought a game that was on the second story that they didn't take down to the first floor for me before I got there. But I have had to do that before, and I have dropped not a game, but a dryer down a flight of stairs.
Oh,
And when I was doing furniture delivery, a dryer is one of the lightest things that you can move, and I still lost it and dropped it down a flight of stairs. Luckily, no one was down at the bottom to be crushed by it, but that was the moment I learned: don't do it by yourself. Even if you have the dolly with the strap and the stair climbers, do not do it by yourself. Now, if you are buying a game that is on a second story and there's absolutely no way that you can get them to do it for you, this is your responsibility. You have to get it down the stairs yourself. First of all, bring a friend. Whoever's stronger needs to be the one that's holding the dolly. Whoever's weaker needs to be the one that's pushing from the bottom to keep it from falling off or losing their grip or anything like that. And you need to prep the cabinet first. So you need to ideally remove the monitor and any front glass or anything like that. Anything extremely breakable, for one. So pretty much any glass needs to come out. The monitor absolutely needs to come out. For one, it's fragile, but it's also the heaviest thing that's in that cabinet. So even if it's just like a 19-inch monitor, you're taking out 40 or 50 pounds, and you're gonna feel the difference as soon as you tilt that thing back. You can absolutely tell that it's a whole lot lighter just from taking that monitor out. Boards and stuff like that, if those are quick to remove, that's not going to remove any weight. But if you do happen to drop the cabinet, that is one thing that's not going to end up getting destroyed because it's still in there. But absolutely, at bare minimum, take out the monitor and any front glass that could shatter, and then take it slow. If you do not feel 100% confident doing it, or the friend that you brought does not feel confident being in the line of fire, don't do it. Like there are other ways to get the machine down. You could hire a moving company, someone who's done this before, someone who will take the liability of doing it, because even if you are comfortable taking this thing downstairs, there is the possibility that you lose it, or like the wheel on your dolly falls off, or the strap breaks. Your friend has the sense to get out of the way and let the thing fall down the stairs. Well, now you've damaged their stairs, or you've damaged the floor or the wall or whatever, and now it becomes a whole liability thing of who's going to pay for the damage you just caused to these people's home. So,
meanwhile, you lost a toe to a back door.
Yes.
yeah.
Considering all the machines that I've moved, the toe being my only real major injury is kind of surprising. Also, whenever you think about it, I used to be a professional wrestler, and I never got any major injuries from that either. Not a single concussion. The worst thing that ever happened was like I tweaked a knee and had to take a couple days off. That's it. That's the worst injury I've ever had from wrestling.
His chops are no joke.
Hey,
they won't injure you, but they freaking hurt. But yeah, if you're going to take a game downstairs, don't do it by yourself. And if you're going to, absolutely prep the cabinet and have someone there.
Go ahead, Chance.
Did we ever discuss the time that that Josh bought a virtual fighter? Josh Brown.
That's a heavy cabinet.
Yeah,
Brown.
So Josh O.D. Brown in the chat, the other half of the Canadian Arcade. So I think we did a video of this, I think like 7-8 years ago. Virtual Fighter was Josh's like one of his absolute grail games. And this man decided to take like SolidWorks or some 3D modeling software and model out. So he's got one of those basements where you go down like 4 steps and then you turn like, 90 degrees twice. Or 180
so it's got a landing.
180 degrees. It's got a landing, yes. Well, because
those metric degrees, that doesn't make any sense.
You're in Texas. Do you know what a landing is? You guys are in a basement.
We have stairs. We just don't have basements.
Oh, okay. So he's got like 4 or 5 steps down, and then he's got a landing, and then he's got 4 or 5 more steps down. But because of the way that it works with the houses, the design of his house, there's like the retaining, or the wet wall, or the retaining wall, wherever the concrete foundation is along one side. And so Josh decided to draw out his stairs inch for inch in 3D modeling software. And because the 3D model of the cabinet was available, he took that in 3D and he threw it digitally down the stairs as many different ways as he could to see how he could get it to fit. And the way that it finally got downstairs, we took that game apart upstairs in his dining room, piece by piece. Monitor came out, glass came out. Everything came out. Actually, no, we took it apart. We took it apart in his garage. Sorry. Then we wheeled the cabinet around to the front of his house, pulled it up into his house. He put an eye hook into the beam of the roof above his landing in the stairs. We flipped the cabinet upside down. We put a GoPro in there too for the video. Flipped the cabinet upside down and like hung it and suspended it over the landing and tweaked it around the corner so it would pass by the concrete wall. Got it downstairs, and then he spent the next day like fully restoring and rebuilding it. It was
Which one
great.
of you constantly was screaming pivot, pivot while this was happening?
Yeah. I think we made the friends joke a couple of times. But yeah, and then to go back to Kay's point about like damage, when you're moving games, damage will happen even when you don't think damage is going to happen. In that same stairwell, when Josh and I decided to get into a little bit of coin op work, he's going to hate me for bringing this one up, but Josh decided that, hey, he's got a Ms. Pac-Man and he wanted to put it on location. We knew that game was going to absolutely slap on location and make money. And so he pulled it out of the basement, and what we did was we put it on its back as we were sliding it across the linoleum at the very top of his stairs. But what we failed to notice was there was a tiny little nail sticking out of the back of the plywood of the cabinet. And it caught the linoleum and started, like, it made like a big mark on the linoleum. And like, it was not a good time. Like, it got repaired, but it was a bad day for Josh.
It goes from arcade game restoration to home restoration, and that's not nearly as fun.
But it's linoleum floor, like, and you can't just like pull a tile up because you cracked it and put another one in and try and match the grout. Like, legitimately, like, cut into the linoleum of his floor, and like, it was an awkward moment, and like we were kind of rushing, we shouldn't have been, and it was just a bad time. But like, it was kind of on all, like, we just needed to stop and focus. And I guess the point here is if you're gonna move a game, or you're gonna move a game through an area of your house that you don't necessarily want damaged, take your time, look around every edge, just plan it out, because these things are basically the size and weight of a refrigerator, and you're going to get hurt, you're going to break something, and you're going to have regret, or you're going to break the game, or you're going to neck the game. Take the time to really plan it out.
In my paperwork that I have people sign, one of the things that it says is that there's a possibility of very minor damages, either to the cabinet or to the area where it's being moved, where it's just like nicks, scrapes, paint scuffs, things like that. I'm not responsible for. If that happens, I will do my best to mitigate it, but it's still a possibility, and I'm sorry if it happens. One other point I wanted to make was, if you can tilt a cabinet back, and with you and a friend, if you can get under it, if you are not capable of lifting that machine just straight up, the two of you, it is too heavy for you to be moving it even on a dolly. So you need a second friend.
So this is 100%. All great advice that I should probably start taking.
If you want to live. I mean, look, you're the oldest one
because
here,
I'm not really running this podcast when you get crushed.
All these gray whiskers, right? So
sorry, Kay, I cut you off. What did you say?
I was saying he's the oldest one on this podcast. He really has to consider his health. Your back's not what it used to be, Charlie. So keep that in consideration.
Yeah.
Well, and what's funny is often when I'm buying something on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, either the listing will say, bring help to move it, or they'll say like, oh, I'm on my way. And they say, are you bringing any friends to help? I've never brought anyone with me on a pickup.
Same.
And it's to me, it's rather uncommon for the seller to even help, because very often these are elderly people getting stuff out of their house, right?
I think every time it's been, do you really think you can fit that game in the car?
Yeah. But there's techniques. So rapid fire, one of the big ones I think Kay hit on is removing the monitor, including like when I moved the Play Choice 10, remove both monitors, right?
Yeah.
When I moved the
it's like 80
carefully.
pounds.
Yeah.
Carefully remove both monitors so you don't neck them.
NBA Jam and similar cabinets, remove the monitor and remove the control panel box. They unbolt, they come off relatively easily. That takes another 40 pounds.
Plus with how wide those things are.
You won't fit that control panel box through a door when it's on 9 times out of 10.
Exactly.
It's 3 bolts You know, pull the 3 bolts off. It's all
Disconnect the
hopefully
Molex.
quick disconnects on
Yep.
all the Molex, and you're good.
Yep. And so, and also multiple dollies, right? I usually have one in the garage with inflated tires. That one actually has a flat tire, and I got to replace them. A repair.
Solid,
and then
solid
the other one,
4 tires, man.
well, I mean, I gotta, and it's got like I gotta repair it. And the appliance dolly with the strap, right, and the stair climbing treads. And let me tell you, the worst though. Is when you have to turn on a staircase. That's the hardest thing, right? And also the worst thing ever was getting a Cinematronics Vector out of my basement was ridiculous because I didn't want to take the monitor out because I didn't want to risk messing it up. But so don't do what I do. The thing that I will say is I'm a professional. The one summer during college, I worked for a moving company and I learned all of these different things about leverage and whatever. So anyway, before
I'm a
we wrap
professional
up,
too, because I used to do that for a living. I used to deliver
there you go.
for a living. So
You used to pick
sometimes I
up,
practice what I preach.
you used to pick up full grown men over your head.
Yeah, there's that too. I will
Before
say
picks
that
things up and puts them down again.
I'm most likely the strongest person out of the 4 of y'all. Just assuming.
Whoa. Liam's right here.
I'm pretty sure I could pick him up and throw him. But anyway, that's not the point. If I'm the one telling you that you need to be careful moving these things, then you should absolutely be careful moving these things.
Well, before we wrap it up, and this devolves into a how much you bench competition, random pixelated Billy Bob with a $500 million super chat donation says, "I've got Pac-Man fever." Did you guys see the Pac-Mania cab that was for sale? Empty Pac-Mania cab.
I did. If it had that marquee, I would have possibly gone for it.
Oh, is it like extruded or whatever you call it? Yeah, it's got injection.
It didn't have the marquee. It didn't have side art.
What's that type of molding called? Suction molding or something?
Vacuum forming.
Vacuum forming. Yeah. Well, thank you, Billy Bob. Oh, we got Yo Eddie just showed up. 10 Shears said moving my Irish pole position 2 upstairs was easy with 2 people. Yeah, when there's 3 people moving it, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back.
Position's like half the size.
Yeah, pole position. Yeah, well, I mean, normally pole position is pretty heavy cabinet. I've had to move one of those up a few stairs just on a porch by myself, and that was pretty rough.
Yeah, I want to circle back and thank you again to Jerry Voluptuous, Mike Martin, Stringer Films twice, and Random Pixelated Billy Bob for the super generous super chat donations. So let's go around the horn, everyone. Your final words and plug your channels, starting with Kay.
Hi, I'm Kay with Prime Arcade Sales and Repair down here in West Texas. You can find me on TikTok at prime_arcade. I do short form videos of all the repairs and projects and adventures that I have. Most of my videos are about 2 to 3 minutes long. I have a YouTube, but I don't really update it anymore. And you can also find me on Facebook. That's mostly just reposts of the same videos. And if you want to do actual business with me. So if you want to see what I've got for sale, Facebook would be the place to find me.
Thank you, Kay. And next, Liam.
I'm Liam. I'm one half of Retrobonics with my wife. You can find us on YouTube or Kalov, whatever floats your boat.
And last but not least, the guy in orange in Belgium.
I'm Chance, one half of the Canadian Arcade. And I'm just going to, I hate it when somebody's like someplace new or different and you don't actually get to see where they're at. Watch me get hit by a bus.
He's got to walk out of Wi-Fi range.
Yeah.
This is not what we meant by final words.
So anyway,
have you closed out your bill yet?
No, I'm going to close it over the front desk. So that's what the waiter came over to ask me about earlier when you had to mute me. No, so this is live from the Hotel de la Universe in Liège. Yeah, I know, right? Liège, Belgium, right off of the major train station here. So I'm going to go catch a train to Paris in about 4 hours and then a flight back home to Calgary.
There you go. And I am Charlie. I am two halves of Overtime Arcade. If you're watching this right now, you're watching this on my channel. And apparently the Motorsports and sports ball talk didn't go well because I lost subscribers during this live stream, which I think is the first time ever. If you liked this, hit that like button. Thank you, everyone, for the comments, the engagement. The live chat was great. The super chats were awesome. And stay tuned for a all new episode of Overtime Arcade coming out tomorrow. So I think with that, hopefully I'll get everything working. And this has been episode 18, and we'll see you.